Thank you very much, and good morning, and thank you all for coming. I'm here to announce my candidacy for the leadership of the New Conservatives. I'm running for the leadership of the new BC Conservatives to give British Columbians a real choice in the next election. Voters need to be given a choice between the status quo of the two old line parties, a choice between transparency and deception, a choice between listening and arrogance, a choice between a government of the people and a government of special interests, a choice between common sense and political correctness. For the last 20 years, British Columbians have had to choose between the Liberals and the NDP. On one hand, you have the Liberals, a party marked by their inability to listen to anyone except the lobbyists, and whose management of the province does not live up to their spin. And on the other hand, you have the NDP, who drove the economy into their ground and are controlled by the elite public sector union bosses. The choice between the Liberals and the NDP is like a choice between airline food and hospital food. They'll both keep you alive, maybe, but not much else. We can do better. British Columbians deserve a choice they're actually excited to vote for, not two parties they have to hold their noses to support. In BC, we have two special interest parties, one that caters to the lobbyists and corporate donors, and the other at the beck and call of the big union bosses that run the public service. There's no choice for hard-working people. No party represents the family in Abbotsford, the small business owner in Kelowna, the mill worker in Mackenzie, the retiree in Parksville, or the farmer near Fort St. John. Both of the old line parties talk a good game, but when you look at what they actually do and not what they say, you'll find that the only people that matter are the groups that are bankrolling them. The Liberals tell everyone they're a friend of the small business, but as any small business person in BC will tell you, the last few years have been tough. In the last 3 years, small businesses have been hammered by stealth taxes. Imagine you owned a family restaurant in Cranbrook. In the last 3 years, you have had to deal with the carbon tax which not only raised the price of all your supplies, the HST, which drives customers away by increasing your prices by 7%, and now the surprising jacking of the minimum wage by 28%, which drives up your costs. What makes it worse is that not one of these policies was ever put in place or ever put to the people in an election campaign. All these policies were imposed after the people had already chosen a government. If you say one thing and do another, I was brought up to believe that's deceit. And that is one of the reasons we need a real choice in this province. The Liberal operating principle always seems to be deception. They never seem to tell the truth unless they're forced to. Consider the HST. They said it wasn't being considered before the election, but we now know officials were discussing it in secret months before the election was held. No matter what the issue, the first instinct of the Liberals is to cover up. They forked over $6 million of public money to Dave Bassey and Bob Burke to avoid an embarrassing trial. Influence peddling was clearly deeply rooted in the government, and they used our tax dollars to sweep it under the rug. No one can beat the Liberals when it comes to arrogance. Christy Clark promised consultations on the minimum wage. She promised to listen to workers and employers, but instead of listening, she issued a decree. After a month, Christy is just a carbon copy of the Gordon Campbell. Same arrogance, same disdain for the people. Now, as a father and grandfather, I worry about the debt we will pass on to the next generation of British Columbians. The Liberals have been secretly driving up the debt of the province, even in good times. Crown corporations like BC Hydro are owned by the people, and we're all responsible for their debt. And what a debt it is. When the economy was strong between 2005 and 2009, that secret debt skyrocketed by 60%. And those were the good years. Since then, this hidden debt has increased even more and will only get worse. While the Liberals say the budget will be balanced in the next 3 years, what they are telling us is that this hidden debt will have nearly tripled from $7.2 billion in March of 2005 to $19.5 million in the 2013 fiscal year. Spending is out of control, but the people are getting less and less for all that spending. An education system in disarray, a childhood services ministry riddled with problems, our police stretched too thin to fight gangs and drug smugglers, and long waiting lists for health care. BC can't go on like this. We need a choice so that common sense conservative-minded voters do not have to choose between the lesser of two evils.